Hi, everybody. Bob Hui here from Alberta Speakers. I am having a conversation with my friend, fabulous Betty Dogren, and I say that because that's how I call her when I see her, because I think she's a fabulous speaker, she's a fabulous friend, she's a fabulous person, and she calls me something, and I'm not sure if it's true, but she does. Anyway,
Well,
that's
you're my friend, Handsome Bob
there
Hui,
you
and
go.
I've always called you Handsome Bob
I know, and that
because
always
you
makes me
are.
laugh. It always makes me laugh. But anyway, we're having a conversation with all of our speakers on the Alberta Speakers site, just so that we get to know each other a little bit better, and hopefully our clients will watch these videos and then say, "Hey, I want to hire this person." So, let me ask you a quick question, Freddie. Uh, Tell us a little bit about why you started your speaking career. I think people want to know that kind of thing.
No, that's a great question, Bob. I've always been the person that likes to speak, to present, to act, to speak, sing, etc. Back in 4-H, I was a speech champion, and through school, I was in the drama club, and then when I went out into the work world, some of my jobs included training and supporting others, and I found that number one, I really liked it, and as I developed my expertise and took courses and got credentials in adult education, etc., I discovered that I really, really loved learning and then sharing what I had learned, whether it was book learning or life learning, with others, because my life lens is that I want to build people. And if I can contribute in some small way or a large way in helping a person to build themselves up, become more competent as an employee, as a person, as a mom, whatever, that's what my life lens is.
Good. All right. Well, let me ask you. I got to take a diversion first, and then I'll get to the other questions. But when we were talking earlier, I was showing Freddie my accredited speaker mug that I got for being involved in helping organize an accredited speaker program in Vegas a few years ago. And Freddie said, I didn't get one. And she said, well, I guess I wasn't an accredited speaker then, but she is now. And I want to ask you about the accredited speaker. A lot of people who are watching this may not know that there are 87 people around the world who have earned professional level designations from Toastmasters as a professional speaker, as an accredited speaker. So, Freddie, you're one of those 87 people. Tell us a little bit about how that happened for you.
First, I'd like to say that it was the most difficult but most rewarding educational process I've ever taken part in, because getting the high level credential as a professional speaker in Toastmasters, a marvelous organization that promotes speaking, but this is at the top level. I had to dig absolutely to the foundation of my skills, my ability, my drive. I had to reach out to others because it was not something I could do on my own. So I learned about the gift of receiving coaching and mentoring, as well as, giving the coaching and mentoring. I learned some very difficult lessons. I learned some wonderful lessons. And at the end of it, my talent or skill as a speaker probably increased 100-fold, because I had to take what I thought that I knew, dissect it, rebuild it, and then learn the presentation skills that go along with content. And it was, like I said, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I've done some hard stuff, but it was without a doubt the most rewarding.
Mm. And it was rewarding for some of us to see you walk on stage and be inducted into our Speaker Hall of Fame as an accredited speaker. I was, for one, I was cheering my brains out. So I was.
Well, I know, Bob, and you were one of my support team. I could turn to you for answers, and you were a good coach, but you also encouraged me to reach out to people with some different skill sets. And I think that was the one of the best things about the process was recognizing that you need to find the right person with the right skill set at the right time to help you developmentally, which is just like selecting the right professional speaker to come to your event or to work with your teams to do the coaching, etc. It's got to be the right person with the right skills at the right time. And you really helped me to learn that lesson.
The pleasure was entirely mine. And just like so many people helped me on my path to get to be an accredited speaker. So, you pay it forward. But
absolutely.
So actually what you just said leads me to the second official question, which is, what do you think clients get when they engage Freddie?
Sometimes they've got no idea what they're getting. What they get is, first of all, 100% commitment. And even maybe just by watching this video, you can see that I've got a lot of drive. I'm very animated, very committed. What they get is that the depth of knowledge, the breadth of experience, but that 100% excitement and focus. I get so excited about every single engagement that I have. I fall in love with my clients and I go over and above and I dig and I wrestle and give 100% of the time.
Cool. So with the challenge that we're in worldwide, have you been able to successfully make the transition to presenting virtually to your clients?
Yes, actually, this is kind of fun. I really enjoy the Zoom world. I've been teaching classes and I've worked with very diverse groups, from CEO groups to one of my favorite groups, I think, has been this group of young, let's call them young adults who have not yet reached success in their lives. They're still seeking and they're struggling. And I do a series of classes with these young adults, and they're good at technology, but sometimes their focus isn't necessarily there. So what I love is the challenge of really getting these amazing people with great potential engaged in the process. So from that end of the spectrum all the way along, yes, I've been teaching classes. I have virtually presented at several Toastmaster clubs, advanced Toastmaster clubs, and that's always fun. In addition, I've learned the Zoom technology so that I can reach out to others, that folks don't have to reach into me, that I can reach out to others. So it's been really fun. Is it different? Yes. Is it the way of the future? I absolutely think so. I don't think that we're ever going to people say, I can hardly wait till things go back to normal. That's not happening, people. It's going to be a new, exciting world. It's going to be new, different, great opportunities. And this is what I'm looking forward to, is a new way of reaching out and engaging.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think that's one of the things that's changing, and some of it's going to come back. I mean, I said in one of the books that I published since COVID started that I've lived through a few of these, as have you. And each time they've said, oh, the speaking business is dead and blah, blah, blah. Each time we've come back. I believe we'll come back now, but I think it's going to be different, because one of the things that's happening is people are realizing that they can do this virtually. And we're learning that we can do it virtually. So in some ways, it means that we'll be able to travel the world. One of the challenges for me is when I started this path back in 1991, I wanted to be a professional speaker. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to engage people and all that kind of stuff. And when things happened and I had to cancel Barcelona, Lisbon, Singapore, Paris, another one in England, that's just till August, because I have no choice. I thought, I'm stuck at home. But I finally thought I worked it through, and I thought, okay, I can't travel, but my ideas can.
Yes.
And that's what all of this is about, is learning a new method of delivery and having the commitment. Because I had a conversation with a speaker, and basically what he said is, this is where you find out if you're really committed to what you're doing. If you just want to travel and you want the excitement and the here you are, or you actually want to give and deliver value, then this is where you see. And this is what I'm seeing with people is they're stepping up to the plate. They're learning to do this, and they're saying, "How can I help you?" To their clients. So this is again part of what we're doing with these Zoom interviews to say to people, if you want to hire a great speaker, some of the ones from Alberta Speakers are people because they know how to do this.
Yes.
So let me ask you another question.
Well, just before you go on, Bob, I mean, I do love the technology, but nothing will replace being able to sit there, shake somebody's hand, look into their eyes and say, hey, you know, it's going to be okay. That human touch, it's still number one. But this is a really great.
It'll come back. We'll still have in-person meetings, and it's like with the one in Barcelona. We're committed to having it next year in Barcelona. Well, next year maybe we'll call it live in Barcelona, because this year we condensed it and did a virtual roundtable. We took all of our speakers, there were 15 of us, and went down from half an hour to 5 minutes to deliver value and do it within a 2.5 hour program. But next year we're going to be there live in the same location that we had this year, with a historic building that's been there since the 1600s, and we're all committed to coming next year because we want to deliver the value in person as well as what we did virtually. So I don't think it's going to change. I just think it's going to adapt. There's going to be more of this happening. So during the short term,
more scope and options.
Yeah. During the interim, this is it. And it gives us an option. Say, you can get me live or you can get me virtually. What suits you as a client? And going back to the question is, if you had a choice, do you have an ideal client in mind? Do you have a particular group that you really enjoy working with, or you've productively worked with in the past?
One of the groups that I love working with, and that is, I like working with groups of business women. I mean, as a woman in business, I really enjoy working with female business professionals. And I really love engaging with them, sharing ideas, and just, maybe it's because of my gender, but I think that there are gender differences in the workplace and needs in business, et cetera, you know, perceptions, et cetera. So being a businesswoman, bringing the woman's perspective and sharing with the ladies, I love that. I also do church retreats, ladies' church retreats. And that's a lot of fun. They're a great bunch of women, and you know, being able to present and share with them is cool. But the group that I work most with is entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Is people that are, you know, small business or just starting out, because some of the work I do is really foundational to then building your customer service and your PR and everything on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my favorite groups, is the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's like with me. I like working with business people because they, if I, especially leaders, because if I help them, then I can help a whole organization.
Exactly.
And
I guess
that's exciting.
It is. And I guess to expand on that, Bob, I believe that leadership is more than a position on an org chart.
Absolutely.
That leadership is a position of your heart. That you can be the newest hire, you can be the lowest paid person, or you can be anywhere on the totem pole or the org chart. But I believe we need to develop the leaders from within at every single level of the organization.
Mm-hmm. It's not a label. It's a commitment.
No, exactly. It's a way of living. It's a belief, I guess.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you've been doing this for quite a few years. We've been members of CAPS for lots and lots and lots of years. So that means that you've been doing this professionally for a long time. So have I. Tell me some of your success stories. I'm sure you got lots, but just a few, or one or two of some of the things that you've done over the year that you look back at and go, I'm really glad that I did that, or that we were able to accomplish this, or whatever it was.
You know, one that just jumps out at me, Bob, is you've seen my Not All the Monkeys Are in the Zoo, my little monkey friends, and it's on my website. But I was doing a presentation, and it was for a library board. And this was a regional library board. There was about 200 people there at this conference. And the Not All the Monkeys Are in the Zoo is a fun keynote that incorporates a generic way of teaching about personality styles, because we are all different, which is a good thing, because if we were all the same, most of us would be unnecessary. But I did this presentation, and it's all little stories and vignettes and everything. I had two of the regional library managers, so they were in the more rural areas. They came up to me and said, you know, this information should be taught in schools or in, you know, colleges, etc., because listening to you today, so in an hour and a half, listening to you today, I'm going to go back to my library and I'm going to completely change how I interact with my staff, and especially with the library patrons. And I thought, oh my gosh, how amazing is that, that you can touch one life and they can go out and touch hundreds. Mm-hmm. That always is one of the pictures that I keep in my mind, is the library conference.
It's called the ripple effect.
Yes.
You touch one and you don't know where it goes. You just have to assume that it's going to continue going out.
Exactly. Just tossing pebbles in the pool.
And that's
again, you know, part of it, Bob, is that people don't know what they don't know. If they don't know, they don't know it.
Exactly.
Right? Which is that whole knowledge gap that all of us have.
Yeah.
But we're not aware of it because we don't know we have it. And that's where I think it's kind of fun to be able to tap into those voids and just sort of wake up the awareness, and people going like, oh, I guess this is important. And that's what's cool about working with the entrepreneurs, because you start sharing, especially some of that personality stuff, and they're going like, oh my gosh, but I thought everybody thought like me. No, your customers don't.
You're
and if you want to lose 75% of your customers.
Well, so I think that's one of the value points that bringing a speaker in, whether it's virtually or live, is they bring in ideas that maybe your team hadn't thought of, or maybe you can be the person who's the reminder or the nudge. One of the things I usually do is I ask my clients, is there something, a message that you've been trying to get across that they're not getting? Because I'm the guy from outside. If I bring it up, they might go, oh, what a good idea. And I'm happy to do that. I usually ask, is there something that you want me to reinforce? Because they're hearing it from a different voice and an outside voice, then it gets through the barriers.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's funny, when I lived in the Arctic, we called an expert a guy that got off the plane carrying a briefcase. That was our definition of an expert. So that was kind of fun. You know, the other presentation that really stands out in my mind is when I did my accredited speaker presentation in 2017, I tapped into my expertise of career development, which I've done for over 30 years, but took it to that next level, your next career, which is you're considering your retirement options and the lifestyle, not the financial planning. You know, that's been well served by the financial industry, but what about the time, right? Because what's retirement? It's time and money. And, you know, most people, you know, have been working on their monetary plans, but what about your time? So when I gave that presentation, it was astonishing to me, delightfully astonishing, how many people came up and says, oh my goodness, I had never thought of that. For example, your digital legacy. This is the one that really struck people at home. You mean in my last will and testament, I have to put instructions about my Facebook account? Yes, you do. And people are going, I never thought. And we've got such a big online presence now that people are not thinking about their digital presence and the planning that has to be done for that. So that was something that people just went, whoa, and I'm going, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Irene and I have had that conversation too. Irene is my wife, who's also the techie in our family. I'm the talkie. Yes. But we've had that conversation, and assuming, because I'm 10 years older than she is, that I will probably go first, her instructions, because she does all the websites, is to go to my speaker websites and say a little thing, Bob is no longer taking engagements, he is permanently retired.
Yeah, but somebody has to do that, and right?
Buy his books.
Buy his books.
And then she can use the money from the books to go on cruises, assuming we can eventually go back to cruising. But
you know, I always thought Irene was smart.
We've had that conversation, because what we do online stays online forever.
Well, have you ever received one of those notices? It's Bob Huey's birthday, and you're going like, no, Bob's been permanently retired for a few years.
I know. Well, I get some of those from some of my friends who, exactly. Yeah. And nobody has ever taken them off Facebook. They're still up there. And again,
the other thing that a lot of folks never really thought about is doing that practice activities, practice your retirement activities before you actually retire. You
Good
think
idea.
You want to do a hobby in woodworking? Well, maybe practice it a little bit, because what if you find out that you hate it? Or people say, well, I'm going to volunteer. Do you now? Or
Maybe.
People say, I'm going to travel. Traveling is a skill. Are you traveling now? Nope. I'm going to start when I'm 70 years old. Good luck with that. Bob, you're a traveler. I'm a traveler. Is it a skill? Oh, yes. The airport announcements. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other conversation Irene and I had a few years ago was, again, because I'm 10 years older than her, my commitment is I want to travel now while I'm healthy enough to do it.
Yes.
And then eventually when I'm not healthy enough to do it, I'm going to do it anyway. Because then I told her, I said, when I get old, you can push me around. She said, I'm pushing you around now. So
it's all words, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we went on 2 cruises last year, and on both cruises, we saw a lot of people on scooters and whatever. And I thought, okay, I can still do this. Right now I can still walk, but someday I'll be one of those guys with one of those scooters going on the thing, because I do not want to stay home. That's why with this COVID thing is I'm the extrovert in the family. So you can imagine what's happening with me, other than now it's nice outside. I can go out and work in the yard. I can do some projects. I'm doing lots of indoor things like this, but I need something to keep me engaged and moving. And that's
absolutely.
So let me just ask you one more question, and we won't keep you all day because I'm enjoying this. Do you have a program or a book you want to chat about, something you want to share with our viewers?
I have been doing some pretty cool stuff over this last year and developing a program called The Making of a Marvelous Mentor. It doesn't matter what your discipline is. You've probably received mentorship of some regard or others. And many people, we take a look demographically, folks of our experience, Bob, we've got a lot of knowledge. We know a lot of stuff that we ought to be passing on, and we need to be passing it on well. And we need to be passing it on with strong relationships. Yep. And so I have developed this marvelous mentor program that can be, just a 20-minute up to a full day program about how to engage as a mentor. But it's just like leadership. It's hard to be a great leader if you don't have followers.
True.
So how can you be a great mentor without mentees? And part of the program is also showing people or encouraging people, teaching them the skills as to how to identify what it is you need to be mentored in, who are the best mentors, and some of the best approaches for reaching out. And part of that came from my accredited speaker experience, where I realized that, I wasn't good at seeking help. And so whether you're in your late teens, early 20s, or your 30s, wherever you are in that employment spectrum or the employment scale, even at our age, I've got 50 years work experience, and I'm sure you do too. I mean, even now there's times that I need to reach out. And so wherever you are, so what makes a marvelous mentor, and how to identify and reach out to the right person at the right time for what you need to learn in the moment. I think one of the really cool things about mentorship is that it is the ultimate in just-in-time learning. And especially now that we've got Zoom, I mentor people literally around the world. It's kind of fun. Maybe I'm doing it at midnight because that's their time zone, but being able to, connect with folks to help them to learn, know, grow, develop, and be the best they can. That's what I wake up at midnight and go on a Zoom call for.
Well, and that, if you're like me, that feeds you. One of the lessons that I learned that I'm applying now after 9/11 was I let it, I sat back and waited for it to come back
Yeah.
instead of really pushing and getting out there. And, you know, one of the things was looking at it. I get fed when I'm speaking to an audience, or even like I'm speaking with you. That engages me because of that's who I am. That's how I'm wired.
Mhm.
And so this time I'm reaching out to people. And I'm
Mhm.
having wine Wednesdays, you know, where I invite people to come with a glass of wine and we have a conversation. Friday mornings, we're having a coffee break just because I know there are other people like me that need to reach out. So because I have a Zoom prompt, I can say, let's make this available so that we can encourage each other. I know CAPS is doing that. We have, you know, we have our cocktail party once a month, or CAPS speakers from all across Canada can come together and we just share. There's lots of webinars going on. So I think that's part of what's happening is the smart people are looking for ways to reach out, to
Mhm.
engage themselves, to feed themselves, to bring energy to themselves. And it's the same thing, you know, saying to our audiences who are watching this video. You know, we want to say thank you, Freddie, for taking the time to share with us today. We want to invite anybody watching this to reach out to Freddie, to look at bringing her in to work with you and your teams and your organization to bring some energy and some excitement and some focus to what you're doing. So thank you again, Freddie.
Well, thank you, Bob, handsome Bob Huey. It's always a delight, and I really appreciate your care and commitment to reaching out to us as speakers, to supporting the Alberta Speakers website, and certainly your involvement and engagement with the greatest organization in the world, which is Toastmasters. So, handsome Bob Huey, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, fabulous Freddie.